Hi, it's Ivan from Andis here with another edition of Andis Tooltips on the web. Today, it's time for Trend Cut Men's Spring 2012. We got a willing volunteer. We're going to show you an exciting trend haircut. It's all grown out, plenty of hair. We're going to put a bunch of it on the floor with an exciting cut that you can watch and you can use to build your business with your clients in spring of 2012. Thanks for watching. This is where we hope to end up when we're done. This is our spring 2012 men's trend haircut. Disconnected at the sides, overhanging, blended, classic barber elements, disconnected asymmetrically. There's a larger disconnected zone. It's disconnected and non-blended or undercut on the opposite side as well. We used a pomade that's got a little bit of weight to put a little bit of heaviness in through the top. A very classic barbered look. That whole top could be slicked or it could be worn slightly forward like this, but it combines classic barbering elements with modern contemporary haircutting for a very on-trend look for 2012. Let's watch how we cut it. Let's watch how we get there in the following steps. One of the key elements of this trend is disconnection. Disconnection is something previously was very popular in ladies' haircuts. Now we're beginning to see disconnection in men's haircuts. I've segregated this front corner. Unique to this cut, not only are the sides, those front corners, going to be disconnected from the top yet blended into the back, but it's also going to be asymmetric. There's going to be a larger disconnected area on the opposite side than the disconnected area on this side. I've got my Andis Envy clipper. I've got my number 2 snap-on attachment guide or guard, and I'm going to use a number 2 guard to cut the area directly above and directly in front of the ear. This is going to let this area come in short, and it's at a length with a number 2 that is short enough such that if I wanted to create a design element, if I wanted to etch a design in there, that is an option I could incorporate into a finished look. First thing we do is we undercut the corner on what is the client's left-hand side. On the opposite side of the head, on the client's right-hand side, the area that we've scaled out for disconnection is a little larger. The area in front of the ear is about the same size, and we're going to come in and we're going to take all this extra hair off, but we're also going to take off an area behind the ear, running behind the ear and down. It's going to give a little bit of asymmetry to the haircut because the area that is scaled out shorter is larger. Instead of extending just from the front of the ear forward, it's going to be this whole area back and behind the ear. I use my section clips to segregate the area that I'm not cutting, but I'll come in here and again, this area is cut down with a number 2 plastic snap-on attachment guide or guard. We'll come in and detail the perimeter and the sideburn later, but now we've got our undercut, the small area on the left and the larger area undercut on the right. Now we're going to set up some of the top length. We're going to cut the fringe length. I'm going to scale out a portion of the fringe. I'm going to comb that down, and I'm going to use shear style cutting. I want to maintain some length in the top. Part of the advantage of the attractiveness of this haircut is the contrast. I'm going to comb this down using shear style cutting. I'm going to get it long and in the eyes. I'm going to use parallel from below to come up underneath that section to set my fringe length at the eye, in the eye like that. I've got my guide there. I'm going to bring some successive sections forward so I get a little more of that top cut, and I'm going to take some sections parallel to that front fringe. Notice when I'm combing the hair, the blade is facing out and away. That'll prevent me from cutting something that I just didn't really want to cut until I'm sure that I want to cut it. I'm setting up this guide length. I'm extending from the fringe out, and I'm not going to connect it into that shorter side. Therein, the disconnection we've spoken of. That sets my front fringe, and it'll be time to cut the top. Now it's time to cut the top. We undercut underneath, we set our fringe length. Now we're going to go to backhand clipper cutting. I've got my clipper backwards in my hand with my comb above it. I'm going to take a top center section here, and I'm going to set my top length, not too short. I'm going to comb that top up, and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to comb it up, and I'm going to cut it. And when I get to the front end here, you can start to see the guide from where I set my fringe length. Now I've got that top center length. I'm going to go all the way back to top crown. I'm cutting straight across like that. I want to leave some heaviness or some weight, so I'm going to square cut the top. I'm going to turn my client. I'm going to stand behind him now. When I come straight up, you see the guide from the previously cut section. I'm going to walk that guide backwards through the head. I'm going to walk that guide backwards through the head. I'm doing what I call widening the guide. Comb that out, straight up, look for the guide. Now I've got top center. I'm going to part it both ways. At this point, I have guide running all the way around the parting. I'm going to elevate this up. I don't follow the curve of the head, and I don't 90-degree this. I comb it up, and I cut it off. I comb it up, and I cut it off. This is going to leave heaviness because that length is traveling up. I'll finish this side, and I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Okay, we did our top layering. Like every good client, flip them over and check them out. We leveled off that top to conserve some weight. At this point, we've done our undercut, we established our fringe, and we cut our top. Now we're going to come into the sides, and we're going to cut above that undercut. We're not going to blend. We're going to come in again with shear style cutting, and we're going to cut above that undercut to get these sides shorter, but they're going to be disconnected. Peek and look where it is. I want to disconnect it to about the middle of the undercut section. So I'm going to comb that down. If it was too much hair, you could subsection and segregate it, but it's not too much for me to get a grip on, and it's not too much for me to cut through. You'll notice that exposes that undercut so you can see it, and I'm going to come straight across now, and I'm going to just work straight across until I meet with or blend into my front fringe. I established that front fringe, it's sitting at the eye, and I cut this back to the end of my undercut. Notice it stops at the end of the undercut. On the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to check my work, I'm going to look for the height of that, I'm going to go halfway back into that undercut, and on this side, same thing. I'm going to go a little further back because my undercut extends just a little further back. I'm going to continue that on until I get to the undercut, and then I will stop. I'm also going to connect forward as I did on the opposite side. As I run right out into that fringe, I'll check for balance and symmetry to see to it that I'm even on both sides. I did my undercut, I established my fringe length, I layered out my top, now I've cut my sides to expose the undercut on both the simple and the radically undercut side. Now it's time to cut the back. Here we go, now it's time to cut the back. We're going to cut clipper over comb, we're going to taper off the back. On the side here, it's going to blend into our undercut front corner. As we move up, it's going to blend into a significantly longer top length. So while it's disconnected and undercut, at the sides we've got a very classic barber blend. On this side where we took the deeper undercut, there will be less of a blend, but there will be a bit of a blend. I'm going to take this down clipper over comb, we're going to film a little bit of it, and then we'll get all of it down because there's a lot of hair, and we'll show you where we get to. It's going to be classic clipper over comb. I've got a lot of thick, heavy hair here. I need to take some of this bulk down out of the way. Notice how beautifully and easily this clipper can power through an awful lot of that hair. It's classic clipper over comb. I'm going to use it to work this section down to taper this in. And notice I'm holding my comb at an angle. I'm rolling the top of the tips of the teeth of the comb tipped out towards me. That's allowing me to look for and determine that length. It's allowing me to come up the head, and notice it's going to start to blend into that top. And as I come into this side here, I'll freehand a little bit of this because it is a mannequin, and you'll notice we'll start to see this blending into the undercut side just at the side. I'll clip some of that up out of the way so that when we do that, let's just move some of this up out of the way. We don't want to compromise that undercut. We like the fact that it's not blended. I'm going to blend in this way, but we don't want to blend off the undercut that we worked hard to create. See how nice this tapered area looks where it blends in? We'll blend up and we'll blend over, and we'll take a look at it when we're finished. Okay, here we go. Clipper over comb. We clippered a lot of this down. What you'll notice, classic 5-step clipper over comb. When I ran into the longer and heavier interior, I got a nice blend going on here. I blended up and into the disconnected side. I'm going to come in and freehand this bottom edge. On a live client, we would go to get a real nice natural taper. Obviously on a mannequin, our ability to taper is somewhat limited, but we're going to cut clipper over comb to blend into this top section. And notice as I come into the right is where my undercut is exaggerated. I'm going to allow that undercut to continue to remain unblended. So not only do we have the undercut at the top, but it stays disconnected here. We have a combination of undercutting and disconnection. I'm going to rough in my edging. I'll detail that with my trimmer soon. So I've got disconnection, I've got undercutting, and then disconnection down in through here. I've got classic barber tapering and blending. I've got longer length. I've got a blend underneath, and I've got my disconnection here. I need to use my blending scissors to finesse that top length, and my lining and edging to finish the haircut. I switch to my outliner and my finishing comb, sideburns and edges, just to detail the perimeter in and around the ear, on the short undercut area. Neckline, same idea. We would either block or taper the neckline depending on the client and the circumstances. For the purposes of this mannequin, I'm just going to clean that up a touch. Opposite side, same thing. Sideburns, lines, and edges. Any detailing we need to do to finish the perimeter of the haircut with our trimmer and our finishing comb. A little bit of blending scissor work to finish things off here on the side and back where the haircut is blended. I'll go in with my blending scissors just in through the ends of the hair to fine tune that blend. I've got some classic barbering on this haircut along with some contemporary trend undercutting and disconnection. I can work through the top if I wanted to reduce a little bit of bulk or heaviness using my blending scissors under the section to reduce just a little bit of bulk. Mannequins are always a little bit on the heavy side, and that completes our 2012 Spring Men's Trend Disconnected Haircut. Thanks for watching. Check us out at andis.com for more information, and have a great day. I'm Ivan from Andis. Thanks for watching Tooltips on the Web. Remember, subscribe to us here because we're posting videos all the time. Facebook, we're there. Andis and I have pages. And of course, we're tweeting on Twitter, and we're listening to what you have to say on Twitter too. This has been our 2012 Men's Contemporary Trend Haircut, undercutting, disconnection combined with classic barbering. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.